Some stories don't begin with a scream, they begin with silence, the kind that settles over a place long before anyone realises something is wrong. In the Green Mountains of Vermont, there's a stretch of land where silence has a habit of swallowing people whole, a place where towns faded, industries died, and the forest slowly reclaimed everything humans abandoned. And in the middle of that quiet, between 1945 and 1950, 5 people stepped into the landscape and never came back out. These weren't reckless hikers or unprepared tourists. A hunter, a student, a veteran, a hiker, and a young boy. People who should have been found within hours. Instead, they left behind nothing. No footprints, no clothing, no remains. Just questions that have lingered for more than 70 years. Some blame the terrain. Others whisper about something older, stories of strange lights, impossible creatures, and a mountain the Abenaki once warned people to avoid. But whatever happened in those woods, it wasn't random, it wasn't normal, and it didn't stop until the disappearances suddenly and inexplicably ended. Tonight we're going back to the beginning, to the moment the first person vanished, to the moment the Bennington Triangle was born. Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 40 of Spooky and Kooky. I'm Ellen.
I'm Alice, and as always, if you're into anything spooky, kooky, horror, paranormal, conspiracy, even a bit of true crime, then you'll find it all here.
Yes, and if you didn't guess from our last Twisted Tongues, today's episode is going to be about the Bennington Triangle.
And it's going to be told to us by Ellen, because I know nothing about this. I've heard the teaser, and it sounds right up our street.
Yes, I'm interested to see what you think, because one of them is just, it's just so inexplicable. Like, I know that usually disappearances are crazy, but there's one where you think, I genuinely cannot think of any reason this would happen.
Oh, we love these ones as well.
So I'm looking forward to that. You'll know the one it is. But
let's get into it.
Okay. While the world was focused on the events of the Second World War, a quieter set of developments was taking place in the Green Mountains of southwestern Vermont. In the shadows of Glastenbury Mountain, the former industrial towns of Glastonbury and Somerset had been steadily declining for decades.
I like how they've got UK place names.
They always take on names.
We know where the settlers came from.
Yeah. Once supported by logging and mining, both communities saw their populations fall sharply as those industries collapsed, and by 1937 they had been officially unincorporated. With so few residents remaining, it would have been reasonable to expect the area to grow quieter and more predictable. Instead, between 1945 and 1950, a series of unexplained disappearances occurred in and around the region, cases so unusual and lacking in physical evidence that they later became central to what folklorist Joseph A. Citro termed the Bennington Triangle. The first of these vanishings began on the 12th of November 1945. A group of hunters visiting the region spent the day tracking deer along the slopes near Glastenbury Mountain. Their guide was Middie Rivers, a 74-year-old local who had spent his entire life hunting, fishing, and trapping in the surrounding forests. He knew the terrain intimately, better than anyone else in the area. As the group made their way back to the camp along the long trail, Rivers suddenly increased his pace, moving ahead of the others and disappearing into the trees. The hunters assumed he had gone ahead to start a fire, but when they reached the camp, there was no fire and no Middie. Over the following days, local authorities, park rangers, experienced woodsmen, bloodhounds, and volunteers combed the area, and the only clue was a single rifle cartridge found standing upright on a rock beside a small stream. Whether Rivers placed it there intentionally or whether it was unrelated remains unknown. For a man as experienced as Rivers to vanish without a trace in terrain he knew so well seemed almost impossible, and his disappearance set the tone for the strange events that followed.
Oh, gosh. Can I just say, you know, the Bennington Triangle, the Bermuda Triangle, and I believe there's another triangle down by Japan? It could be somewhere else completely, but there is another triangle. Why is it always a triangle?
Well, he plotted... So, Joseph A. Citro
Yeah.
took the inspiration from the Bermuda Triangle, but when plotted on a map, it's kind of in a triangle.
Yeah, so why is it always in a
Something about
triangle?
the triangle. I don't know what...
Because that's the whole thing with the pyramids, the Illuminati.
Yeah, that's facts, actually.
Not that we'll be getting into that this episode.
But what is significant about the shape of a triangle?
It
Like,
seems to
what's
be
its
something.
meaning? Yeah, it must have a meaning. That's very interesting, actually.
Because it does relate to the pyramids, the Illuminati, but like even when I've looked at Ancient Aliens, they always talk about triangles.
Is it a calling card?
Apparently triangle, or the pyramid specifically, not just triangles, but the pyramid specifically, apparently it just has some powers, like supernatural powers. That's why there's so many pyramids around the world. But again, they talk about the triangle a lot because obviously they're the same sort of shape. One's just 3D and one's 2D.
Yeah.
So there is something about
never
it, because I
considered.
know there is another triangle somewhere else in the world.
Yeah,
Because it's in the ocean somewhere.
Yeah, even though the Bermuda Triangle, I know, is like the amount of air traffic it gets is not unusual for the missing stuff, the weird stuff that happens.
Yeah.
But that is really interesting.
Yeah.
I never considered like the pyramids and stuff, everything being a triangle. But that's so
That's
true.
my conspiratorial mind. But I wanted to do an episode on the Bermuda Triangle as well, so we might have to follow this one up.
Yeah, we might have to do a triangle series.
I was literally just thinking the playlist. Because, we can do the other triangle that I'm on about.
And it makes 3.
I bet after this episode I'm going to look up the other triangle and it just won't exist.
No, I
exist
think
in my
there is
mind.
another thing, because when they were talking about Joseph Citro, when I was researching it, there was another, it was Bermuda Triangle and... Boop, boop, boop.
I'm sure it's down by Japan.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but I'm sure there was another one.
And you know what? It's going to be so funny when we do our little triangle series of 3 that you've said, make a little playlist. When we do the third triangle that we can't name yet, it's going to be really funny to look back on this when it's nowhere near Japan. And I'm like, I'm sure.
We are always so certain
It's
until
off the
we're
coast
not.
of Japan. Yeah. So it's going to be
Who knows
enlightening
where it
for
is.
everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you know in the comments, let us know, please.
Okay, let's go on to Disappearance number 2.
Oh.
Barely a year later, on the 1st of December 1946, the Long Trail became the stage for another mystery. Paula Welden, an 18-year-old student at Bennington College, decided to go for a walk after finishing a shift in the college dining hall. She told her roommates she was going for a walk, but specifically a hike on the Long Trail, a rugged path that ran through nearby Green Mountains. She dressed lightly for the weather, a red parka with a fur-trimmed hood, blue jeans and trainers. And at around 2:30 p.m, Paula left campus and began walking towards Route 67A, where she began hitchhiking, which apparently is a common practice for students at the time.
Yeah.
That wasn't weird. Because alarm bells rang for me when I read them.
Who's doing that
Yeah.
after a day?
A local contractor named Lewis Knapp picked her up and drove her several miles along Route 9 towards the Long Trail trailhead. He later described her as polite and in good spirits, and after dropping her off near the entrance, Paula continued on foot. Shortly afterwards, she was seen by Ernest Whitman, a local man who worked near the trail, and he gave her directions and watched her head into the woods, which placed Paula on the Long Trail at roughly 3 p.m. Around 4 p.m, a young couple hiking behind her saw Paula walking ahead of them. They watched her round the bend of the trail, but when they reached that same spot, she had vanished from sight.
Damn.
They assumed she had moved quickly or taken a side path, but this would become the last confirmed sighting of Paula Welden.
So already I was thinking, are there confirmed sighting of after the 2 lone men saw her? Because I'm thinking, well, that's definitely an alternative to explore. But the couple, I would say it's less likely that they would... A couple of people is less likely to see someone have nefarious intentions and harm them other than a lone person.
Yeah.
A lone man, but I'm going to say a lone person.
Yeah, a couple's non-threatening most of the time.
Yeah, I think it's less likely.
And equally, they were like 100 yards behind her or whatever. They would have heard her scream, or even like a scuffle in the woods if someone dragged her. You would hear that, surely. Yeah. So,
especially in a forest as well, because you do hear things from further away because it's so quiet. You could hear twigs snapping when someone's walking. So
when Paula didn't return to her dorm that night, her roommate assumed she was staying with friends. It wasn't until the next morning that anyone reported her missing. The response was slow. Vermont had no state police force at the time, and local authorities lacked coordination and resources. So days passed before a large-scale search began. As the search expanded, investigators began interviewing people who lived and worked along Route 9, including Fred Gadet, a local man who worked at a nearby gas station and lived close to where Paula had been dropped off. Gadet is a weird
character.
He's a weird man.
Do you know what, though? People at gas stations who work in these kind of remote-ish areas by national forests or just forests in America, in missing person cases, I'm just saying it seems to be a bit of a pattern that these gas station people see a lot.
Yeah.
It takes me back to the Yuba County Five.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, which we've covered on here, but just some other cases of missing people. Gas stations do see a lot.
It's true. Okay, so Gadet initially told police he had seen Paula walking along the road on the afternoon she disappeared. However, he later retracted this statement, claiming he had not seen her at all. His shifting story immediately drew attention. Complicating matters, Gadet had reportedly argued with his girlfriend earlier that day and left the house in an agitated state. During questioning, he made a dramatic, unofficial confession claiming he knew what had happened to Paula. But almost immediately afterward, he recanted, saying he'd fabricated the story out of anger and desire for attention.
Anger at who?
His girlfriend. He was trying to make her, jealous for knowing, for seeing and knowing what had happened to Paula, which I don't...
If my partner said... if someone went missing around our area and then Kieran's being questioned on it and he was like, I know what happened to this girl, I wouldn't be like, I'm really jealous.
I hate that you know.
And I don't know.
Why don't you just marry her?
And also, I'd also be like, well, tell people then.
You know a lot about this, Paula.
There's a missing girl?
Yeah, why is it...
Why are you keeping all the cards close to your chest? I think you should maybe tell people. If you know what happened, just say.
It's making me not want to be with you.
Yeah, and if you're not involved, why wouldn't you say? Which then it's kind of like you're saying all of these things, your stories are changing. I'm kind of thinking you're involved, and I'm getting a lucky owl.
If you had nothing to do with it, why are you inserting yourself and making yourself look so suspicious?
It's all to make those bitches jealous. Bitches just be cray.
Yeah.
I'm not the crazy one.
You're all crazy.
But did he ever give an explanation? You'll probably go into this, but did he give an explanation on why this story initially changed from I saw her to I never saw her?
No, he would consistently change his story. He was just a shifty guy.
Okay.
There's nothing really more to say about that.
Okay. I feel like this one, he's a potential suspect. In my eyes.
Yeah, he's a potential suspect. And, well.
Because he did some mental gymnastics on that jealousy thing, so I know there's something going on.
I don't know why that would be the thing that would make your girlfriend jealous. You know about a missing woman and could potentially, therefore, be implicated in her being missing. You know what's happened to her, so then you're basically saying she's dead.
Unless he was kind of thinking, maybe I'll make up that me and Paula had a thing because she's missing, so she can't deny it. And he never actually did. This is in a world where he's not implicated at all.
Yeah.
Which I don't necessarily think this, but I'm just thinking of the mental gymnastics he could have possibly done. So he could have thought to himself, there's this this girl that's gone missing. Me and my girlfriend have had an argument on the day she's gone missing. People are now being questioned about it. I'm going to say I know what happened to her because I'm going to say that something happened between me and Paula before she went missing.
Yeah, then
because
she just
Paula
left.
can never say it didn't happen because she's missing. It doesn't implicate me, and my girlfriend's going to be jealous and wishing she wants me back.
Win-win.
She's going to be eating out the palm of my hand, even though that in that scenario he's then cheated on his girlfriend.
Yeah.
After an argument.
And implicated himself.
Yeah,
in a possible crime.
In a missing person case. So that is the only way I could see there would be any sort of jealousy in it, because I don't understand if he literally was just like, I know and you don't.
Yeah, maybe he said that and then didn't really think through what he was saying, and then he was like,
signed an NDA. I can't tell
and then he was
you.
like, damn, that was really stupid. I can't believe I said that.
I actually never did see her.
Don't even know what she was like. Paula, never heard of her.
No, he's suspect numero uno.
Yeah. But investigators could find no physical evidence linking him to Paula's disappearance, and without a body, witnesses or forensic clues, nothing could be proven.
Do you know what I think about that scenario? Because there are lots of cases that I've heard of where in the small town where it happened, the case remains unsolved, but people in that town say, it's unsolved, but we all know what happened. The police department know what happened, but just legally, they've got nothing, so they can't do anything. And obviously with that, when there is no physical evidence, you could always be wrong, which is why they can't do anything. It kind of protects you on that.
Yeah.
But there are just quite a few now that I've heard. I think the Yuba County 5 one also had that, where people in the town are like, oh, we know what happened.
Yeah.
But I've heard other cases as well, so I reckon the police department were all like, it's kind of solved for all we can do.
Yeah, we're all satisfied.
Yeah,
with the
until
explanation.
More evidence comes to light against this man, we can't do anything, but we have a pretty good idea it's something to do with this guy.
Yeah.
So I think that one's probably that, but there's going to be other mysterious ones, I imagine.
Yes. And obviously his inconsistent statements kept him on the list of persons of interest. So meanwhile, Paula's father, William Archibald Welden, who apparently created the kettle or something like that.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Arrived in Bennington and took an active role in the search. Wealthy, well-connected and determined, he hired private investigators, pressured local officials and personally questioned several individuals, including Gadet, whom he believed knew more than he was admitting. Welden's frustration with the disorganised investigation became public, and his criticism of Vermont's lack of a unified law enforcement structure helped drive political momentum, and it actually forced the creation of the Vermont State Police. So something good came out of it, which was formally established in 1947 as a direct result of Paula's missing persons case, but it shouldn't have really needed that to get to there, but at least something positive happened from that.
But also just raise your hands, give us a little raised hand emoji in the comments. Do you think it's Gadet?
Gadet
we have limited information, and Gadet's kind of the only suspect that me and the other viewers who haven't heard of this,
he's made it easy.
He has made it easy.
Yeah,
and that's all his own doing, so I don't feel bad about it.
No, he did it to himself. Despite extensive searches involving hundreds of volunteers, National Guard units, aircrafts, bloodhounds, and a $5,000 reward, no trace of Paula was ever found. No clothing, no remains, no belongings, which is weird.
Yeah,
nothing.
And I kind of feel like that $5,000 reward, I feel like if Gadet had something to do with it, I feel like he would have not tried to implicate himself in actually doing it, but if like he knew the reward, he would be like, I just came across her clothes.
Yeah.
Where's my money?
And I'd imagine
kind of thing.
$5,000.
It was a lot back then.
Would have been a lot. Yeah. But just the fact there was nothing is... And I know that because they were late searching, maybe they wouldn't have found disturbed ground, or like you couldn't attribute it directly to what happened to her, but to find nothing.
And the couple not hearing anything, that's us. I don't know what the explanation could be. And if Gadet had nothing to do with it, why even involve yourself? Because it's literally like you've just confused the whole thing.
Yeah, you've really just muddied the waters here. When they could be looking into other stuff, you've just made yourself a person of interest. In the years surrounding Paula's disappearance, investigators and later researchers noticed unsettling parallels with other cases in New England. In 1936, Catherine Hull disappeared while hitchhiking, but her remains were discovered in 1937, though the circumstances of her death were never fully resolved. And in 1952, Connie Smith, a 10-year-old girl from Wyoming, attended a summer camp in Connecticut and vanished after walking away from a camp following a minor altercation. She too had been seen hitchhiking shortly before she disappeared. So we've got all 3 cases involving young women or girls, all last seen walking or hitchhiking in the region, all vanishing under mysterious circumstances.
But then there's also that hunter guy who you mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah.
So being all young women or girls hitchhiking, and remind me of the time frame.
What do you mean?
It was like 1940s?
Yeah,
or 1950s?
late 1940s.
Okay, because I know that a lot of serial killers were operating hitchhiking back in the day, and like moving into the 70s things got solved, but still in the 40s I think police methods were very behind still. So I feel like it could be explained, but I know there's going to be a few others that probably don't fit that pattern, like the male hunter going missing. That doesn't sound
and again
like those others.
He was like in his 70s, so people have said, did he fall, did he have some sort of heart attack? But then you would expect to firstly find him
quite easily. If he had a heart attack and just fell on the floor and died, he would be found quite easily. If he fell off somewhere and like rolled and maybe, I don't know,
but you would see evidence of like disturbed anything. These were on trails as well. It's not
and the
like
bloodhounds.
Yeah, it's just bizarre that they have just found nothing in both cases. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
Ever.
And I'm guessing there's going to be... It's Northern America, so I'm guessing there's going to be some wildlife.
Yeah.
Roaming around.
There's bears.
Yeah, but still, I think a bear attack actually would leave quite a lot of evidence.
Yeah. You'd find shreds of
bears
clothing.
Don't eat you, do they? They just...
maul you, I guess.
Yeah. So it's not like...
You would find a body and a lot of blood and a lot of shredded
and struggle.
clothing.
Yeah. And with the hunter thing, I feel like they would also hear a bear attack.
Yeah, probably.
Like, I can't imagine a bear attack's going to be quiet.
There's going to be screaming. At least if there's no roaring from a bear, you would hear screams.
Yeah, but there's going to be grunting and growling, and there's going to be sounds of scuffling. And like I said, in forests, you can hear stuff.
Yeah. Although, it's interesting, they found that shotgun cartridge.
Yeah.
But they didn't... So did they not hear a gun being fired?
That's
and it's weird that it was placed there. To me, that sounds kind of like suicide-y. I don't know, like to do that.
Yeah, but then you would find the body close to that, surely.
Yeah, and why would you do that on a trip that you're taking these random
with friends?
Hunters? Well, he didn't know them, they hired him.
Oh, yeah. But
so why would... That's a weird time to think, I'm gonna do it now.
Maybe it's just all things that can be explained but unconnected.
Some investigators wondered whether these similarities pointed to a pattern, perhaps even the possibility of a serial offender operating in New England during that era. But despite the surface level parallels, no concrete evidence ever linked to the cases, and no suspect was identified across all 3. Paula herself had hitchhiked to reach the long trail, and it's entirely plausible she intended to hitchhike back to campus. This fact fed early speculation about whether she might have accepted a ride from someone dangerous. Investigators also explored the possibility that she had run away, but this theory collapsed under scrutiny. Paula had experienced minor disagreements with her father about her future, but nothing severe enough to suggest she intended to disappear.
So Paula was at college, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She was living on campus with her dorm mate. I feel like if she wanted to run away, she wouldn't have had to go hiking before she ran away. She could have just ran away from the dorm.
Yeah.
And if it's to do with her minor disagreements with her dad, which seems extreme to run away because of that, you could just not talk to your dad.
And problem solved.
Yeah, because she's not actively living with him, so what's she running away from?
Yeah, exactly.
She's an adult that can run away quite easily. She doesn't need to be like, oh, I'm just going hiking and then never come back.
Yeah, and her friend said that she seemed
Normal.
fine. And
she didn't dress for the weather.
Yeah.
She didn't take supplies.
That's another thing, yeah. She left stuff behind that you would have taken if you were starting a new life.
Yeah.
Which you could easily do in that time and no one, like, find you.
Because even if, like, obviously today it's completely different because you've got your phone and everything.
Yeah.
But even if I left that, I feel like if I wanted to run away and have no one find me, start a new life, I would at least take a couple of changes of clothes.
Exactly.
A rucksack. If I left all of my personal belongings, bank card, phone, keys, behind, I would be taking some spare clothes. I would, because I've not got my bank card, I've left it.
I feel like you would definitely take a bank card, right? Or at least you would
that
withdraw
can be
a lot of money.
Yes, yeah. So, something
Obviously
not
they didn't
traceable.
have ATMs.
Yeah, but
Or
they
bank
would just
cards.
have, like, money.
They would just have
more.
money.
Yeah, so I feel like you would at least take money, clothing. There are things that you could still take that can't be traced.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So I feel like that theory doesn't really add up to me. I don't think she was running away or intending to run away.
Yeah.
And the couple seeing her on the trail and then her just going missing. So she was walking, noticed this couple behind her and was like, I've decided to run away. I'm just going to dip off this way into this vast forest. Yeah, like it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. The most grounded explanation considered by investigators was accidental death, likely due to hypothermia, because she was so poorly dressed for the weather at the time.
Yeah.
Because this was in December,
yeah.
I remember, and
it's
snows
Northern
there.
America, yeah.
Yeah. So she asked for directions around 4 p.m. when sunset was only minutes away at that time of year.
Right, yeah.
If she became lost or injured after dark, she would have faced life-threatening cold with no supplies. But even that theory has major flaws, because if you're thinking of someone with hypothermia, if you go back to when we did the Yuba County one, your behaviour, and even Dyatlov Pass, like your behaviour starts, you start acting strangely. You take clothing off, you leave traces of where you are.
Yeah.
You literally just fall down in the middle of anywhere where you are. Like, you're easily
found.
But
also, they know they've spoken to the guy, I'm guessing, who gave her directions.
Yeah.
So they know whereabouts she was heading.
Yeah.
So unless she got hypothermia and veered off the path for whatever reason, I'm going to guess if you were starting to get cold or injured, you would stay on the path that you've got directions of, where you know where you're going.
Yeah.
And you know that you could be found because someone gave you these directions.
Or you turn around and think, I'm going back to the road.
Go back to the road, yeah. But just on this, like, hitchhiking thing, it's just wild that people used to do that. Like,
I know.
This day and age.
People still do.
I know.
Because
they take their life in their hands.
In Canada, it's really frequent because their public transport's so scarce.
But also, I feel like Canada's one of those places where it's so safe, no one locks their doors, everyone's so friendly, and I feel like to an extent that's probably true. Obviously, you get a few bad apples, but definitely in the UK, I would never. No. Who is gonna want to give you a lift in the UK as well? Like, we are so antisocial with strangers.
It's true.
Anyone who I would hitchhike from and they would offer me a ride,
I'm not getting in. And also, Uber's an option.
Yeah, for the people who are giving them a ride, I know, maybe it's as a female as well, because obviously we get told a lot more than males about how to keep ourselves safe, but I've heard as a female, if you come across someone who looks distressed even on the side of the road, do not exit your vehicle.
Yeah, it could be a
Call
trap.
the police, because it could be a trap.
Yeah.
So even if I saw someone asking for a lift and they were a female, I would maybe call them help if they had fallen on hardship.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't exit my car. I'd lock those doors, wind down the window a tiny little bit, and be like, I've called help. See you later.
We'll spin away.
Yeah, and not to be an arsehole, but
No,
I've just
it's
heard
true.
too many stories where they say, do not exit your vehicle.
Yeah, I've seen people like broken down before and thought, should I help? Then
Yeah.
thought, firstly, how am I going to help? I can't.
Yeah.
I can barely keep myself alive. Like, I'm not going to be able to contribute anything to the situation other than be like, oh no, you've
Yeah.
broken down. But secondly, you just can't put yourself in that position as a woman,
No.
which is sad, but
Yeah, I remember actually on New Year's Eve one year, my brother got a random knock on our, like, he still lived with my mum and dad, and I was staying there for the Christmas period. I was out doing something, I was probably seeing you on New Year's, let's be fair, but he said this random guy came up to our front door. My parents live in a cul-de-sac,
Yeah.
so I don't know where he was going to,
yeah.
but he just knocked on our front door and was like, oh, can you give me a lift to this place? And my brother did it.
Did he?
Yeah.
And he lives to tell
Well, at what
tale.
point can you say no? But I think back in the day as well, and I would never do this now, and if I had children of this age, I would be like, never do that. But do you remember, like, paper children, like paper boys, paper girls, sometimes they would be delivering those papers and be like, oh, can I come in and use your toilet?
Yeah.
I would never enter the house of someone I didn't know.
Even now.
There's just too much that I know goes on. I'm not leaving anything to chance. Maybe that makes me paranoid.
And you're so vulnerable on the toilet.
Yeah.
I'm at my
Facts.
most vulnerable state.
Yeah, facts. So I just would never. But yeah, hitchhiking is wild.
I know,
to
I
me.
just can't imagine it. Just, I feel awkward getting into a taxi.
Yeah, and I like that Ubers, they really understand the score. Like, if you talk to them, they'll talk back to you. But if you just want to get in an Uber and literally sit there on your phone, they will let you do that. But
Yeah.
I'm not getting this random hitchhiker. Say I'm on my way home from work, because
Oh.
work is the drive home where I need silence.
Yeah.
And I see someone on the side of the road. I don't want to give them a lift just because I don't want to talk to you.
Not today.
Yeah, like, I'll even give you, like, here's 10 quid, get a taxi or the bus. Like, I'm just not doing it. But yeah, no, hitchhiking is just wild
I know.
to me.
I know.
I just had to state that because I can't believe that was ever a thing. It would be great if it could be a thing.
It
but
would be
it can't
lovely
be.
if you could trust humanity like that.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Or be sociable.
Or where
I'm
we-
not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, let's continue.
Yes, so the absence of evidence is what makes her case so haunting. Paula Welden vanished as completely as Middie Rivers had 13 months earlier, despite the fact that Paula's search effort was vastly larger, better organised, and supported by far more resources. In both cases, the disappearances occurred in late afternoon, in the same general region, under the same conditions that should have made recovery likely, yet both searches failed. By this point, the pattern was becoming impossible to ignore. Two people, just over a year apart, vanished around the same time of day, in the same wilderness corridor, under circumstances that defied logical explanation, and despite massive search efforts, no trace of either was ever recovered.
So mad, especially if the conditions are good as well.
Yeah. And it's not in, like, deep wilderness. This is
No,
the thing.
they're on a trail.
They're on
They
a
haven't been
trail.
hiking for 2 days and camping and all of that.
This is
Okay.
the baffling
Okay.
one. Okay, so 3 years later, to the day
Okay.
of Paula Welden vanishing, on the 1st of December 1949, another disappearance occurred. One so strange that it pushed the Bennington Triangle legend into truly impossible territory. This time, the missing person wasn't a hiker or a hunter. He wasn't alone in the woods. He wasn't even outdoors. James Tedford was a 68-year-old World War I veteran, and he disappeared from a moving bus. I'm just gonna let that sit with you. I mean, what?
He kind of breaks the pattern as well. He's
Yeah.
a man. He's old.
Well, Middie was old.
Yes.
He was in his 70s.
But also he's on a moving bus.
He's on a moving bus.
Not even from his home.
No, not
I'm
even in the
guessing-
woods.
Other people are around on this bus.
Yep.
Oh, it's so annoying because in modern day there would be CCTV.
I know.
That probably wouldn't work, especially in the UK. But Oh, a moving bus!
No. Okay, let's talk about Tedford. So he lived at the Vermont Soldiers' Home in Bennington. He suffered from documented mental health issues and was described by relatives as despondent about returning to the regimented life of the institution. In late November 1949, he travelled north to St. Albans to visit family, and on December 1st, his relatives accompanied him to the bus station, watched him board the southbound bus, and saw it depart. At 6:15 p.m, the bus reached Burlington, where Tedford briefly spoke with an acquaintance at the depot. This is the final confirmed sighting of him. He then reboarded the bus and sat at the back for the remaining journey to Bennington, a route consisting of 14 scheduled stops, all along well-travelled roads through populated towns. There were no wilderness detours, no isolated stretches, and no opportunities for a passenger to wander off unnoticed. Yet somewhere between Burlington and Bennington, James Tedford vanished.
14 stops between them.
And he was at the back.
And the bus was well populated?
There was a lot of people on the bus.
Okay.
When the bus arrived at its final stop, Tedford's seat was empty, but his belongings were still there.
Ah.
His suitcase, his coat, and personal effects were undisturbed. Most unsettling was the open bus timetable left on his seat, as if he'd been reading it moments before disappearing. His unused ticket stub was still tucked beside the seat, proving he'd paid for the full journey but never completed it.
I feel, I was going to say, why would, like, say for example, he wasn't getting off at one of the stops, but he wanted to get off the bus for some fresh air. I was going to say maybe he wanted a cigarette, but in those days you would just be able to smoke on the bus, I imagine. Probably. And then to never be found, like after that, like, that would be pretty weird.
Yeah.
So, but it's so bizarre that no one on the bus saw him get off, because going back to Paula's disappearance, there were quite a few people that remember seeing her and remembered interacting with her. So you would think one of those people on the bus would be like, he was there at this point and then he just wasn't at this point, or I saw him get off to have some fresh air
and
or stretch his legs and we drove off without him.
And being at the back, he would have had to have walked past everyone else.
Yeah.
So one of those people would have seen him.
Yeah.
Even if not all, because you're doing your own thing.
Even the person, like, sat in front of him or directly, like, near him.
Yeah, and if you think, like, there's no headphones or anything...
Yeah.
You're in it.
But I'm guessing, for whatever reason, one of those stops must have been... That is the only... Even though no one saw it.
So, the bus driver later claimed that a man resembling Tedford had disembarked in Brandon, Vermont, roughly halfway along the route, and that the passenger had been acting strangely. Brandon police did receive reports that evening of a man matching Tedford's description behaving oddly in town. But when investigators interviewed the other passengers, not a single one remembered Tedford getting off the bus at any point between those stops. What do you believe? Because I feel like...
And even if he was behaving oddly when he got off, where did he go?
Yeah, because that was it. Nothing was ever heard of him again.
Is that stop that he might have got off at in the Triangle still?
Still in Vermont, but I don't know exactly
where in the trail. Okay.
Brandon is. I'm not sure.
Just thinking, because where did he go from that stop? And if he was acting bizarrely and police got calls about that, police would be alerted quite quickly to a man in a town, so not in the wilderness. They would be on the lookout.
And really, what is a man matching his description? Someone in his 60s, a man in his 60s.
Yeah, acting bizarrely.
With short, I mean, that could be many people.
Yeah, and without CCTV.
There's one bus driver saying that he got off against the rest of the bus saying
he didn't. Yeah.
And he didn't take his stuff? So he literally had nothing.
I feel like the police would have picked him up if he got off there, because, like I said, they've been alerted to him quite quickly. He's acting bizarrely, and he's got none of his stuff, so where's he going to stay? And he's in a town. I feel like the police would have got those calls, have been on the lookout, and found him But then they didn't find a guy, I guess, that was acting bizarrely. They didn't find the guy that they did get calls about if it wasn't him.
I don't even know what acting bizarrely really means. Like, what was he doing?
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's a broad
Yeah.
description, yeah.
And to make it worse, Tedford was not reported missing until December 8th, which was a full week later, when regulations at the time required the veterans home he was staying in to report missing residents within 24 hours, especially with mental health vulnerabilities, which he obviously had, which is crazy to me. So his disappearance went either unnoticed or unreported for a whole week. And during that time, multiple staff had access to his room and belongings, so that's compromised any evidence that there is right there. I mean, whether they even could have tampered with it, could have moved something, could have done
Do you know what I'm imagining? Like, staff going in to check on him and they're just being like pillows under the bed in the shape of a body, and they're like, oh yeah, he's in his room. And then one day they're like, we haven't actually seen him come out, like maybe we should check he's okay, and they pull back the covers and it's just pillows, and they're like, oh my god.
Damn it.
We're meant to report them in 24 hours.
And when compared to other missing resident cases in the Vermont's veteran system, Tedford's does stand out because other disappearances were reported immediately.
Ooh.
It was only Tedford's that was allowed to go unreported for an entire week. And despite having a clearly defined bus route and a narrow window of time which he could have vanished, no systematic physical search was ever conducted along the roadway. The investigation relied almost entirely on interviews and administrative records rather than boots on the ground searching.
So this one is so unexplained, but it's also
so poorly dealt with.
Yeah, that there's probably a lot of information missing that could help explain this.
Because there was no traces of him ever found again.
That's bizarre.
Yeah. It's like he just fell off the face of the earth. So many people think it was a time slip or something like that, or he like crossed over to a different dimension or reality. That's what a lot of people think.
If that's a possibility, I find that so disconcerting, because I could never just be going about my everyday life and fall into another dimension.
Just like that. Imagine. Well, even if you're just in another reality, then would you even know? Would you even know?
There's been a story, actually, of a guy. We'll have to cover it at one point because I can't remember the details of it. But he went into another reality and he came back.
Oh my god.
We'll cover it. We'll cover it.
It's done.
Yeah, maybe in the next coming weeks. I don't know. But that would really... I mean, going missing, whatever happens to you, it's, you know, it's shit.
It would just be scary if you could move into a different reality and not know.
You do. Imagine if you do know.
Because there would be some differences.
And you would gaslight yourself.
Yeah, you would. That would be wild. And you know when, like, we always say we have... Oh, well, you say that you've got a good memory. My memory is shocking. Yeah. But then I'm like, oh, what if that's because it's not my reality? Oh my god.
Yeah, but because I've got such a good memory, that would really...
You would know. I probably would just think it's me forgetting stuff, because it's very possible.
I have a good memory for, like, really bizarre details that not many other people remember, but, like, everyday things, I am so forgetful. Yeah. But I am so certain in some memories, like, when I say a specific detail about something that's happened... People are like, did it? And I'm like, yes, it did. I remember it. Yeah. I know it happened because I can see it in my mind's eye.
Yeah.
So I know if I fell into another reality and little details were off, I would know, and I'd be so firm in my conviction, and then I would gaslight myself. And then I don't even know. Like, it would really upset me.
What do you do? Because
a time slip as well, like going into a completely different time. Because imagine, like, just for a second, like, just picture, I'm thinking of our time slip episode and that Liverpool Dylan's bookstore becoming Crips or something like that, a clothes store. And going back to, like, the 1950s, imagine walking down a high street and all of a sudden it's the 1950s outside. In that moment, you're going to be thinking, my life in 2026, that's all been a lie.
The only
I've
good
imagined that.
Yeah, would you just think you've had some sort of
disease,
or I've been knocked out and that had all been a dream? Yeah.
I don't think I could handle that.
The only saving grace with those time slips that we did is a lot of them were like a split second thing. So you're in it for like 5 minutes, you're back out. Imagine you're not back out.
But imagine...
You don't get back out.
Imagine going back to 2016 and thinking, I've dreamt a whole life. But then the events that you have lived and know happen, like Harambe, and you
then
like, a gorilla's going to be
like,
shot and it's going to literally change the course of the future, and everyone's looking at you like, this person is cray-cray, and then it actually starts unfolding.
That's wild. I love how you went to 2016. My mind went Battle of Hastings.
I was trying to think of notable things that happened and scrambling in my brain. It wasn't like the World Wars or a battle. It was like Harambe was shot and it changed the course of everything. Because since that gorilla was shot, this is an opinion, I will die on this hill alone if no one else agrees. Yeah, for whatever reason, Harambe being shot, everything changed.
Maybe the reality you go into is that didn't happen.
And everything's great.
What would the world be like? COVID? Never heard of it, mate.
Oh my god, yeah. Imagine in 2019 just running around to people like, there's going to be a virus that's going to infect the world and we're going to go into lockdown and people are going to have like socially distanced conga lines.
Everyone's like, okay.
That would really shit me up.
Really, you just sat in your house with your tin foil hat.
You start wearing a mask before it's even a thing. Honestly, I really don't think I could handle that though.
And I don't know what would be worse, going back in time or forward in time.
I think forward you're at more of a disadvantage.
Yeah, because you don't know.
You've skipped a whole portion.
You're behind. At least
you don't
you're
know
ahead.
how things work.
Although you're ahead. Well, yeah, I guess at least you've been like vaccinated for all of the horrible diseases back in time. But
I've got my COVID jabs. I'm all good.
I feel like it's much more of a lawless time though.
Do you know what? Just because I brought up Harambe, you can just imagine if I was in a time slip went back to 2016, I'd be at that zoo the day it was meant to happen. Like,
you throw yourself in front of it.
Yeah, don't shoot the gorilla. You don't know what you're doing. Or just yeet the kid out.
Random woman jumps in front of Harambe. That is crazy.
Oh.
That really went left, but I enjoyed that tangent. Okay, so back to Tedford. Back to Tedford.
Approximately 10 hours later.
So his disappearance, which I just think it's so weird that it was exactly 3 years to the day of Paula's disappearance. What are the odds of that in the same region?
Yeah, that is bizarre.
Yeah, and unlike the wilderness vanishings, Tedford's case defied even the most basic logic.
Having it on the same date could be purely coincidental, but it also makes you think, like, is it some sort of ritual that's happening?
Yeah. But then you think, well, okay, that sounds kind of serial killery, but how would that happen?
And why Ted as well? Like, if you're... Because people do have a victim type, and I'm not saying that men aren't victims, but if the other victims are all young females, why would you go for Ted?
Or is it just opportunistic?
Yeah, could be. And he would be vulnerable, it sounds like, as well. Vulnerable-ish, and young women, they're inherently vulnerable on their own.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
And Middie was like older, so even though he was clearly like a hardened guy, he could be overpowered potentially because he is older. It's just so weird because he was just surrounded by witnesses.
Yeah, it'd be a very weird time to act.
It's just the fact that none of the passengers saw him get off at any of the other stops, so I just don't understand how none of them saw that. One of them would. Once again, despite the circumstances, despite the timeline and the confined environment, no evidence was ever recovered for Tedford. Ever. Again.
feel like we've heard that sentence too many times on this pod.
Yeah, we have. It's a running theme.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go to number 4. On the 12th of October the following year, so this would be 1950, 8-year-old Paul Jepson went along with his mum to help feed the pigs on their family farm. Their pen was at the far end of their property, so after a short drive, his mum got out and left Paul in the passenger seat while she tended the animals. When she returned minutes later, Paul was gone. The rest of the family heard her screams for the house and came running to see what had happened, and once again a massive manhunt took place.
So he was in a vehicle.
Yes.
So
just stopped. Just
I'm
in
guessing
the passenger seat.
if he got out and closed the door behind him for whatever reason, the mum, if she was feeding pigs,
Possibly
maybe
not.
she didn't hear.
No. Learning from previous mistakes, the police sent bloodhounds to the scene straight away, which led to a lead. The dogs immediately caught a scent, leading to police in a straight line away from the truck towards a nearby crossroads, where the trail abruptly ended. Having lost the trail, searches began in the surrounding woods, and it was at this point that officers realised that the crossroads lay only a short distance from the section of the long trail where Paula Welden had disappeared.
Do you know what this just makes me think? And Ellen's not mentioned this yet, which I don't know if it's going to come in your theories, but this is along the Appalachian Trail. Sorry if I've just spoiled your script.
The Appalachian Trail.
But it's along the Appalachian Trail. I'm wondering if something called out to that boy, because why on earth would he get out and wander away from the truck?
It's random, right?
I don't really understand why he would walk in that direction.
And in another chilling coincidence, Paul, like Paula, had been wearing a bright red jacket. His parents later reported that he had been unusually fascinated with the mountain in the days leading up to his disappearance.
That's giving me goosebumps, because something called out to that child.
Staring towards it for long periods, as if drawn to it.
Yeah, something called out to him.
Despite extensive searches, no traces of him were ever found.
Imagine he's sat in the truck waiting for his mum to feed the pigs, and he hears his name called
Oh,
from the woods.
I
feel like
I can hear it in my head.
Yeah, and obviously me and Ellen are approaching this as two people who believe in the weird, the paranormal and the supernatural. We believe there is weird folklore that is true along the Appalachian Trail. So we're approaching it from that angle. If you think this is ridiculous, then that's fine. That's fine. You go with what you think, but we're approaching this from that place. So that's why that just makes me think he was called into those woods.
God.
Or towards the crossroads. And then when he was at the crossroads, something came and snapped him up and disappeared.
Yeah, because surrounding the crossroads, it was quite dense forest.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't the trail, you had to go through the dense forest to get to it. So it made searching for him quite hard, which would mean that you would find where he had been.
But surely the bloodhounds would still be able to follow the trail. It's literally like he was just snapped up.
Yeah. Okay, so the final disappearance in the Bennington Triangle. That occurred on the 28th of October 1950, but unlike the others, this case would end with the recovery of a body, though the discovery only deepened the mystery.
Oh, no.
Can't be that straightforward, obviously.
Yeah.
So, this is the story of Frieda Langer. She was 53, and she was an experienced outdoorswoman from North Adams, Massachusetts. She knew the Somerset Reservoir area well, and it was practically a second home to her. Frieda and her husband Max owned a cabin on the shores of the reservoir and had been visiting the area for years. They were seasoned hikers who understood the terrain, the weather, and the risks. So if any Bennington Triangle case should have been solvable through conventional search methods, it was this one. On the afternoon of the 28th of October, Frieda set out on a short hike with her cousin Herbert. The weather was good and the trail was well used. This was recreational hiking, not a wilderness expedition. About a mile from camp, Frieda slipped and fell into a shallow stream, soaking her clothes and shoes. It wasn't a dangerous fall, but Frieda was diagnosed with epilepsy, and given the late October temperatures, getting dry and warm quickly became became a priority,
Yeah.
as drop in body temperature could trigger a seizure. Frieda told Herbert that she would return to the camp to change into dry clothes and then meet him back on the trail. The campsite was only a few hundred yards away, and the walk should have been no more than 10 to 15 minutes. Herbert continued along the trail for a short time, then turned back when she didn't return. When he reached the campsite, Frieda was not there, and she had never arrived. What followed was one of the most extensive and well-coordinated search operations in Vermont's history. Unlike earlier disappearances, this case had every advantage because they had a starting point,
Yeah.
a clear intended destination, optimal weather, immediate witness testimony, and soft ground which should have preserved footprints.
And they've learnt from past mistakes.
Yeah.
Clearly. They've had a lot of disappearances in this area. They've got it down for this one.
Yeah, they're like, right, 5th time's the charm.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. But searchers found nothing. No tracks beyond the stream, no clothing snagged on branches, no signs of a struggle, no indication she had ever walked the short distance back towards the camp. It was as if she had simply ceased to exist between the stream and the campsite.
Would you get that drastic a drop in temperature for that little amount of time and it trigger a seizure or hypothermia? Surely it would need to be a bit more prolonged.
And if she had a seizure, again, you would find her.
You'd just find her on the way back.
Because she would be walking along the path, so she would just fall on the path.
Yeah.
And there's only a short path that she could have fallen on. They know exactly where she was going.
Yeah.
And
were there people at the campsite?
Yeah.
So they know that she never got back.
Yeah, her husband was still there. He didn't go on the hike. For months, the search continued. Professional teams, volunteers, and local authorities combed the area repeatedly, and despite the straightforward terrain and narrow search radius, not a single trace of Frieda was found. But on the 12th of May, 1951, nearly 7 months later, a hiker discovered her remains near the east branch of the Tedford River, roughly 3.5 miles southeast of the original campsite. This location was in a different direction from where she would have been heading and lay within an area that had been lightly searched during the initial operation. The discovery raised immediate questions. How had her body ended up so far from her intended route? Why had the search teams failed to find her earlier, especially in an area within the expanded search perimeter? And why did the conditions of her remains offer so few answers? The official explanation was that Frieda may have fallen down an embankment into a deep pond or pool, drowned, and that her body was later carried downstream by spring runoff. This theory attempted to reconcile the location discrepancy and the lack of earlier discovery. It was plausible, especially considering her epilepsy, but it did not satisfy everyone. The condition of the remains made determining a cause of death impossible, and no evidence of foul play was ever substantiated. Despite the forensic uncertainties, no suspects were identified and no criminal activity was proven. The case was officially closed with the recovery of her body, and Frieda became the only Bennington Triangle victim whose family received definitive confirmation of death, yet her discovery raised more questions than it answered.
Do you know what? This story reminds me about a lot of the stories that are in that documentary. I believe it's called Missing 511 or 411. I think there's a couple.
Yeah.
So it goes over people who go missing in America's national parks and forests.
Yeah.
And some of those disappearances, nothing ever comes up, but others, they do, but months later, when an area has already been searched, or they find clothing like perfectly folded and put there months later. So it's just, something is going on in these national parks, and it's odd.
Something is awry. Yeah, it's
It really
just
is.
weird.
Yeah,
It's so weird.
It's odd.
Her disappearance, like those of Middie Rivers, Paula Welden and James Tedford, occurred under circumstances that should have made resolution straightforward, but instead it became another chapter in a pattern of vanishings that defied logic, occurring in the same region, same conditions, and the same baffling absence of evidence. If 5 disappearances in such a short period were not concerning enough on their own, several additional factors suggested that the case might be connected in some other way. One of the most striking was the small geographical area in which all of the vanishings occurred. Although the victims did not know one another and differed significantly in age and background, each disappearance took place during the colder months of the year. In several instances, the individuals vanished only a short distance from other people who, under normal circumstances, might have been able to see what happened or offer assistance. With the exception of one case, none of the missing were ever found, despite extensive searches carried out by local residents and authorities familiar with the terrain.
Do you know what I'm thinking, though, about why they were all around the same time of year? What if it is like Wendigos, say, that call people's names into the forest? So Paula was along the track, heard her name called in that direction, veered off the track. The boy was in the truck, heard his name, veered off the track. That lady was going back to camp, heard her name called, veered off the track. What if Wendigos go in hibernation in the summer?
Maybe.
And they come out in the winter to eat?
I don't know what their
patterns are, but that just it's something that I just came up with. It might be a wild theory, but it's my theory.
It's just that Tedford just throws a spanner in the works when he is considered with the others, because genuinely don't know about him.
No.
Huge question mark.
No. But it is creepy how it's all in the winter.
It is.
Which then makes me think, whatever it is, if they are all connected, which obviously this is all hypotheticals because they're all unsolved. I mean, there are theories, but there's still question marks. So whatever it is, if they are all involved, clearly operates in the winter. And it could be that there's a trucker, because we know a lot of serial killers use their trucking routes, so maybe they were put on a certain route in between those months. That's also possible.
And that's interesting, actually, because another similarity is the timings.
Right,
because all of the disappearances occurred in late afternoon or early evening.
Yeah.
So would a trucker naturally be stopping around those times of day?
Yeah.
And they all happened close to the long trail or other well-used routes. So they weren't remote, untouched areas. They were locations regularly travelled by hunters, hikers, locals. And the fact that so many people pass through the region each year makes the lack of physical evidence even more difficult to explain. Long before the disappearances of the 1940s and 1950, Glastenbury Mountain had a reputation for strangeness. Native American groups in the region regarded the mountain as a place of danger, a location where four powerful wind spirits met and clashed, and traditions describe warriors who vanished into the earth itself, swallowed by invisible openings that appeared beneath their feet.
Oh, it's got a lot of lore.
Yeah. The Abenaki avoided the mountain except for burial or ceremonial purposes, believing the land was spiritually wrong. In 1892, sawmill worker Henry McDowell murdered a colleague, John Crowley, in the nearby settlement of Fayville. McDowell claimed he had been driven to kill by disembodied voices. He was committed to an asylum but later escaped, vanishing into the wilderness. Rumours spread that he had retreated into the forests around Glastenbury Mountain, living there as a fugitive. And 5 years later, in 1897, hunter John Harbour went missing while hunting in Bigford Hollow. When searchers found his body, it had been dragged off the trail and concealed in bushes. He had been shot with his own rifle, which lay beside him, and the killer was never identified. But locals believed McDowell had returned to the area and that Harbour had stumbled across him by accident. Folklore and supernatural explanations are equally abundant. Some believe the area is a thin place, where the boundaries between realities are weak. Tedford case is often cited as evidence, and others point to the legend of the Bennington monster, a large, hairy bipedal creature said to roam the region. Reports include a 19th century stagecoach allegedly attacked by a roaring, fur-covered figure, enormous footprints found in the mud, and a 2003 sighting of a tall, dark, long-armed creature walking along the mountain.
Literally sounds like Bigfoot.
Facts. Whether bear, misidentification, or something stranger, the legend persists. And there's one story as well which I think coincides with the Bennington monster.
Do you know what? If the Abenaki say the mountain's spiritually wrong, I'm never going on that mountain.
Yeah, they know things, okay?
And even if, they're just chatting. I'm not gonna fuck around and find out.
No.
I'm just not. Again, I might be paranoid for doing that, but I don't want to take the chance.
It's just not worth it.
No.
I can go somewhere else for a nice walk.
For a nice stroll that's spiritually right.
Yeah. I like my walk spiritually right, thank you.
Not in the Appalachian trails, where people have specifically said this specific mountain is spiritually wrong. So no, thank you.
So, in November 1943, long before anyone spoke of the Bennington Triangle, two cousins, Carl Herrick and Henry, set out into the woods for a routine hunting trip. They, again, were experienced outdoorsmen, comfortable in the terrain, and at some point during the hunt, the men drifted apart, which wasn't unusual. Hunters separate and regroup all the time, so Henry expected to see Carl again within the hour. But when Carl didn't return to the campsite by nightfall, Henry raised the alarm. A search party formed and they fanned out through the underbrush, calling Carl's name. For 2 days there was nothing, but on the third day they found him. Carl's body lay on the forest floor, not far from where the cousins had last been together. His rifle was nearby, unfired, and there were no signs of a struggle, no torn clothing, no disturbed earth, no drag marks, but his injuries were unlike anything the searchers had seen. Carl's ribs were crushed inwards. His lungs collapsed, as though an immense pressure had been applied directly to his chest. There were no claw marks, no bite wounds, and no evidence of the kind of mauling a bear typically inflicts.
What the hell?
The medical examiner's conclusion was that Carl Herrick had been squeezed to death.
But by what?
The Bennington monster, perhaps.
Yeah. Because if it was a bear, there would be claw marks.
Yes.
Because even if it stood on him...
The authorities tried to suggest a bear might have attacked him, but even the hunters were like, "Mum, doesn't make sense because bears don't usually kill by compression."
Yeah.
They leave obvious marks like bite marks, claw marks.
Yeah.
And a bear standing on a person would create uneven injuries.
Yes.
Which is not uniform crushing that Carl had suffered. So it's almost like someone with arms crushed him to death. Henry himself reported that the wounds didn't look like any bear attack he'd ever seen. And the forest, as always, offered no answers. I think that I had to tell it alongside the Bennington monster because if I think Bigfoot, I think probably has the force to squeeze someone to death.
But Bigfoots aren't usually aggressive.
No, but if they felt... They're known to be territorial, aren't they? Territorial?
I don't really know
I'm
what
saying
they're known
this like
for.
It's normal. Everyone knows they're very territorial.
I mean, just
he was
like
a threat,
humans,
though. He had a rifle.
Yeah, and just like humans, maybe Bigfoot, some of them are just bad apples.
You're gonna get a bad apple. Maybe Bigfoot heard voices too. And
maybe Bigfoot was spiritually wrong. This specific Bigfoot.
Yeah. Corrupted.
By the spirits of the mountain.
By Wendy the Wendigo. Who knows? But I just think that's weird as well.
Yeah, that is weird.
And then just because, there's not enough weird stuff, witnesses have also reported UAPs in the area.
That would make a lot of sense for people who just vanish.
Yeah.
Zapped up by a UAP.
Yep, so it's been reported that there's hovering crafts, luminous orbs, silent aerial objects, and a flying silo seen in the 1980s. And these sightings mirror those other alleged window areas, such as Utah's Uinta Basin. Uinta.
Oh, I have actually heard of that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some researchers point to natural hazards and environmental anomalies. The terrain around Glastenbury Mountain is rugged with dense undergrowth, steep ravines, and hidden hazards. The mountain's ancient bedrock contains magnetite deposits that can interfere with compasses, affect electronic equipment, and potentially disrupt human spatial orientation. The region is riddled with sinkholes, crevasses, abandoned mine shafts, and natural caves. A misstep could easily conceal a body. Others have suggested that infrasound, low-frequency sound waves generated by wind passing through mountain formations could induce panic, disorientation, nausea, or impaired decision-making. And I don't know if you remember, but in the Dyatlov Pass, they mentioned that as well.
Yeah, I was also going to say, I'm pretty sure they mentioned it for crop circles.
Did they?
Like, wind and infrared sound can cause these things.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't... Yeah, I'm not convinced. I feel like maybe it could induce some panic.
Maybe it's just, like, you know, when you get the sense of that there's something around you or danger.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it does.
But I don't understand, like, with the Dyatlov Pass one, it wouldn't account for what happened overall to them. So I just feel like it's a bit weird.
These factors may contribute to the region's eerie atmosphere, but they don't fully explain the complete absence of physical evidence in most cases, nor do they account for the disappearance of Tedford from a bus.
Yeah.
Yet one theory deserves deeper exploration, and that is the possibility of a serial killer.
Yeah,
which
definitely.
I think is quite a strong possibility. Yeah. Apart from Tedford, but Tedford just is...
bizarre.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
You just make no sense.
But I feel like all along we have acknowledged that that is very much a possibility.
Yeah, it is. The disappearances occurred at regular intervals. Mm-hmm. All victims were isolated but not entirely alone. The terrain provides excellent cover and law enforcement resources were limited. The region had, well, loosely a history of violent fugitives. It had one. The victims varied in age and gender, suggesting opportunistic targeting rather than specific victim profiles. A local woodsman or hermit could have moved through the forest unseen. A drifter using the long trail could have blended in easily. A predator familiar with the terrain could have watched the trail and nearby roads, waiting for the right moment. A young woman walking alone. A confused tourist asking for directions, a child left unattended for just a few minutes. The abrupt end to the disappearances after 1950 suggests a human cause.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Yeah, serial offenders often stop due to death, imprisonment, relocation, or change in psychological state.
Yeah, I heard of this one in Hawaii that's unsolved. It's called, like, the Honolulu Strangler.
Oh, I might have heard of that one, actually.
And it's unsolved, but the guy who they're pretty sure did it, who's dead now, he stopped randomly and they all thought, oh, he's probably just moved away or whatever, but the guy who they think did it at the same time the Honolulu Strangler stopped was the same time this guy they think did it, his child died or someone close to him died. So they think that changed his psychological,
like, makeup.
Yeah, to be like, oh, this hurts.
This is what I'm doing to other families.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say he had, like, a brain tumour or something.
No.
And it changed his brain.
No, so obviously that is just a theory because they don't know for sure that it is that guy. It just heavily points towards him. And obviously they were trying to explain why he stopped if he didn't die or was imprisoned or moved away. And then it started in another area. But he had a death in his family really close to the time he stopped. So...
yeah. It's plausible.
Yeah.
Some people think that it was McDowell, but he would have been in his 70s at the time. So I think these probably need someone who's a little bit more nimble.
Yeah, maybe Gadet.
Maybe Gadet.
He sounds like a shady character.
And maybe he
And
got
he works
married
at
to
the
his
gas
girlfriend.
station.
And
Yeah.
that's what made him stop. It's like, well, she's locked in now.
Yeah. Or... yeah, well, he worked at the gas station, so he has access. He knows the terrain.
Maybe he finished his shift in the early evening.
I don't know why he would stop over the summer. He just had
He's
other
just
things to
enjoying
do.
the sunshine in the summer.
Yeah.
There's more things to do in the summer than there is in the winter.
Well, in all fairness, it's like BTK. He took rather long pauses. He wasn't imprisoned or didn't have a change in his psychology. He just said, I got busy. I just didn't have... I had children, I had a marriage to upkeep, I had a job.
Where's the time?
Yeah,
for these
before I
hobbies.
had kids, I could just go and troll for victims, and I liked that. He really liked the process of finding someone to study. So his victims would take up a large portion of his time.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to do that. He didn't just want to do like a random one and done thing that could be done in a matter of hours.
Yeah.
He wanted that long process, and he was like, I couldn't do that with kids. I had a wife and children. He wanted me home for dinner.
God.
So
there is upsides to having children. Then it stops you murdering for a time.
For a time, and then
Yeah.
I think his children grew up, and he was like, finally, I can get back to this old hobby of mine.
Nice for some me time.
Yeah, his psychology is so bizarre, and he loves to talk about himself as well. So he loves to explain all of this.
Yeah.
And explain how he operates, and does it in kind of a grandiose way, and you just think, you are so weird.
Yeah.
And you're saying this as if it's just like another day.
Yeah.
Just like, I could finally get back to my little hobby.
As if you just picked up painting again.
Yeah, or like, I just got too busy because I was doing weird. So
and
weird.
equally, I guess, like, sometimes people say they know it's wrong, but they have literally the compulsion to do it. But then when they do it, they can keep a lid on it for a certain amount of time.
I think they call it, like, the cooling off period. Like, in The Lovely Bones, you literally saw that so
That
clearly.
film is harrowing.
I can't.
It's...
You know when you're sad but can't cry, so you need the support of like a sad song or a sad film?
Yeah.
That is the film I go to, because there's one bit in it makes me sob. And it's the bit where, because The Lovely Bones, obviously it's about a serial killer.
Yeah.
And he kills this girl, and then it kind of follows the aftermath with the family, but also follows the girl watching from heaven. And one of his other victims she meets up with in this heaven place, and it's when her sister has her first ever kiss, and the girl starts crying, and the other young victim, because he was also a sexual offender, says, "Why are you crying?" Which it was out of happiness, but the little girl doesn't know that. She was like, "Why are you crying? Do you think she didn't want to kiss him?" Because that's been her only experience. And I deeped it, and it makes me sob I've even got goosebumps, so I'm starting to wince a little, but it literally just gets me every time.
You know, I haven't watched that in a very long time, because it literally disturbed me. It disturbed me.
I don't know why I was allowed to watch it as young as I was.
I watched it in secondary school.
Yeah, and then I remember after I watched it, my mum was like, "Oh, the film's good, but do you know what's better, the book?" And I remember we went on holiday, so I read her copy of the book, and this was when we were in secondary school, and the book is so much more disturbing
Oh God, I've not read
than
it.
the film, because of the detail it goes into about the crime itself. But anyway, what I was going with The Lovely Bones, it really shows off that cooling down period, and how he keeps a lid on it until that feeling comes again. And when it runs through everyone he ever killed, there was always that like cooling down time.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a horrible movie.
It is horrible.
I feel like so many people got trauma from that, because everyone I seem to bring it up to, they're like, "Why did I watch that in secondary school?" And I'm like, I know.
I remember I watched it at a sleepover, and there was about 7 of us. We were all just sat there crying. Someone rang their mum and was like, "I just want to say I love you." Yeah.
Oh, it is such a sad, disturbing film. There are so many sad parts, but I remember like watching it as a kid, and then just every time I've been sad and need help to cry, instead of putting on a sad song, I sometimes just watch The Lovely Bones.
Oh,
Now, I remember
can't.
once I was watching it with my mum and dad, because I've rewatched it several times. It got to that bit, and I just started sobbing, and my dad was just like, "Oh, what is happening?" And I was like, you know, like once you start, you can't stop, and it was proper like ugly crying, like nose streaming.
Going.
Yeah, like can't even like breathe through your nostrils, and you're just like, it's just such a sad film.
It is.
Oh,
Deeply
it's so
unsettling.
sad. Yeah,
But
horrible.
I feel like it is a film that people should watch. I know it is disturbing, but it's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, it made me very mindful as a child of weird, creepy people.
Yeah.
Because anyone who remotely reminded me of George Harvey
No.
I was sus of. And I remember I actually thought our neighbour for a very long time was like a George Harvey type.
I remember you saying, actually.
Yeah, because my mum gets really annoyed at me for saying it. Like, you can't just accuse this man of killing people when you don't know. And I'm like, no, I'm not. But I'm just saying, if there were
He
people to
gives
go
the
missing,
vibe.
he would be on my number one suspect. And my dad agreed with me.
Well, there you go. I can just see you on the documentary.
Just like, well, there were signs. And I remember actually once when my parents went away, I got myself so worked up because he was having a bonfire really late at night, and I got myself so worked up that I couldn't sleep the whole night because I was like,
That
he's
is
gonna
fair.
know my parents are away and he's gonna come in.
That's for me.
Yeah, I'm sorry if he ever watches this because that would be a hard pill to swallow. I think feeling like the people next door to you might just be an odd guy. And you know, one of the reasons my dad thought he was so odd, he was like, every Sunday he mows his lawn with a non-electric lawnmower, you know, the ones that roll, and he did it in quite short shorts, and my dad was just like, nah.
That is psychotic. That would definitely make the documentary.
There were signs. So yeah, obviously, like, that probably was just a complete fantasy that me and my dad had, and it came directly after watching The Lovely Bones.
Do you know what,
because I was on high alert.
That's probably like one of the greatest insults you could ever receive as a person.
I know, I like deep it now as an adult because he moved away, but I deep it now and I think, damn, like, if we were wrong, which it seems like we are, because no one really went missing around our area.
That's come to light.
That's come to light, but if I was wrong, like, yeah. But he never knew.
No.
And he's not gonna, like, I doubt he's ever gonna come across this, but if he does, like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I can't remember. Oh, yeah, there was a lot of weird things, but it came directly from watching Lovely Bones.
Oh, God.
But
that
then
film.
again, on the flip side, yes, it's horrible for him being thought of in that way. But on the flip side, if he was, I'd him clocked. And I was
onto
not
you.
going to fall victim to that man. So, not as if he would go for a next door neighbour, but that'd be a bit sus. But it did help.
Yeah.
If that was the case, it would have saved me.
So, you know,
Swings and
keeping
roundabouts.
children safe, I suppose, is the moral of the story.
Traumatise them into being paranoid and judging people.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, obviously my dad was a whole ass adult just judging this man, but I was a teenager.
You don't have to diminish. If that's how you felt, that's how you felt.
Yeah, validate me. But yeah, anyway. Oh, this episode's going to be we thought this was going to be another short one. Every time we say we're doing a short one, we just go off on tangents.
We've never done a short one.
Our bonus episode, actually, that was a short one.
And when I was on my own.
Yes.
That was a short. I had no one to tangent with.
You didn't have me being like, I have something to say that has no relevance to what we're talking about.
But I like that. I can't do that on my own.
I remember when Kieran watched one of our really tangential episodes and he was like, oh, can you just get on with telling the story? And I was like,
physically, no.
Appreciate this.
Yeah, come on the ride with us.
Everyone can relate.
Yeah, everyone's got a noncy neighbour, right?
I didn't call him a nonce, but I was a teenager
It was implied.
at the time, so it was implied.
And you directly related him to the guy in Lovely Bones.
Oh, actually, now, to be
No.
fair, when I just said serial killer, but now
you say nonce, you feel
yeah,
bad.
I'm like, oh, that's actually quite a horrible thing to think about someone. But it's not like I ever directly
But serial killer's
accused
alright.
him.
That's not crossing a line.
I never directly accused him of any of this. I'm just
Any
saying
noncery.
it gave me a healthy sense of paranoia. And if my neighbour did do those things, which I don't think he ever did, but if he did, I wasn't going to fall victim to it because I had him clocked.
You had the street smarts.
Yeah, and I know I've just read him for absolute filth, but I'm sure he was a lovely guy.
Obviously not. Maybe he's still out there. He doesn't know any better. He's still out there mowing his lawn in his little shorts, so all is
Wherever
well.
he's moved to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my mum used to get really, like, she still does get triggered when I bring it up, because she's just like, can you stop accusing him of that? And I'm just like, he was a bit odd.
I wouldn't have to accuse him if he wasn't like the way he is.
But we all grow and mature, and I feel like now I wouldn't judge someone as harshly.
Okay.
Let's move on. Okay. I feel like I've really dug myself in a huge hole with this. But I just feel like it really related to the Lovely Bones story of, like, I had a good sense of paranoia.
And I don't know how we got on to Lovely Bones, but it did relate to it. Oh,
the serial killer cooling off period.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's just get through
let's get to my summarising last final paragraph.
Let's just move on. I'll probably just cut that all out in editing.
No, it's funny. No, it's funny. You have to leave it.
It's not like I said his name.
Yeah. You'll never see it. Leave it in. It's so funny.
We get a cease and desist letter. I think it's fine if you don't say the name.
Yeah. You just see his name on there and you're like, who is that? And he just encloses a little picture of him in his little shorts and his garden.
Oh, that's who it is.
Oh, I never knew his last name.
Yeah.
Okay, last paragraph.
Yeah.
To bring us back home. In the early 1990s, folklorist Joseph A. Citro connected these cases and coined the term Bennington Triangle, drawing inspiration from the Bermuda Triangle and the other triangle, unknown at this point. His work helped cement the region's reputation as a place where strange events converge: disappearances, folklore, cryptids, UFOs, and unsettling environmental anomalies. As the decades have passed and fewer people live or work in the area, the number of disappearances has dropped. Whatever force, natural, human, or otherwise, was responsible for the mid-century vanishings seems to have quieted. Yet the mystery remains. Perhaps one day a hiker will stumble across a long hidden clue. Perhaps advances in forensic science will shed new light. But until then, the Bennington Triangle endures as one of New England's most haunting unsolved enigmas. A place where people can step into the woods or on a bus and simply never return.
It's really interesting, and I feel like my kind of final thoughts on it is that it could be a serial killer. But obviously leaning into the supernatural stuff, I feel like even with a serial killer, there are some oddities.
Yes, it is odd. I think maybe, a serial killer with a little sprinkling of a time slip.
Yeah, with Tedford, yeah.
I think he might be separate.
Yeah. But
I
again,
think the area is weird.
Yeah, and the natives saying it's spiritually wrong. I don't want to mess around with that.
Yeah, I think you can't deny the area is strange, but you also can't deny that was in a 5-year period.
Yes.
Like, the chances of that many people going missing in such a small town, just even in that time, is almost impossible. Yeah. But then when it's the same time of year, same time of day, one even to the day, is literally, what are the odds of that?
Yeah, and the fact it just stopped, it could be a serial killer. But I really feel like that pig one, he heard, or maybe he could have seen the serial killer, and he could have lured him out the vehicle some way, somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like been like, oh, do you want to see something cool in my truck at the crossroads?
And we've got puppies in the back. That'll probably still get me to this day.
Yeah, it wouldn't get me.
It's worth just having a look.
Because I watch The Lovely Bones and I have a healthy sense of paranoia.
Puppies!
But yeah, that was an interesting one.
Yeah.
I've got something a little bit weird to bring up. I don't know if any of you remember that I spoke about the KFC advert, where it was a really weird advert, had really culty music to it, and they carry a person to a gravy river, drown said person, and they come out as a piece of fried chicken. So people on the internet thought that they were showing in plain sight that KFC was cooking and eating people, and that was their way of telling us. So it's now gone a step further, and there's been a Super Bowl Pringle advert, and I'm just going to show Ellen off camera, and then I'll show you guys up on the screen, and then we're just going to talk about it.
Pringle Leo.
Once you pop, don't stop.
Okay, I feel like that's more saying that he's made into a man. A Pringles is made into a man, not...
Yeah, but the reason I brought this up in relation to the KFC advert is because I saw someone on TikTok, and I don't know if it was satire or not, so it could have well been, but they said, remember when KFC showed us in plain sight that they're eating people or cooking people for us to eat? Look at now what Pringles are showing us in plain sight. Pringles are doing the same. So basically saying that Pringles are made out of humans, and we're all, unbeknownst to us, eating them.
Is that why they're so addictive? Do you get addicted to people? Oh no, it makes you crazy, doesn't it?
I don't... The KFC one I didn't believe.
It was just so weird of a choice to do that, don't you think?
Yeah,
like,
the advert was odd.
Don't know how many people said yes to that. Yes. How many layers of people that concept went through, and they all like, love that.
The advert itself was odd, but I didn't get from it that KFC has people in it. I still don't believe that. But I think, even though that to me, I don't believe it, it's more believable than Pringles having anything to do with human, because what part of human is it that's in Pringles?
Literally, what part is it?
So I don't know if it was satire or not. I don't know if this is a new budding conspiracy out on the internet, but I thought I'd draw attention to it because it was funny.
It's too far a conspiracy even for us.
Yeah, I've got this thing now where I kind of, if I can get there without having to kind of put the thing down, flip it and reverse it, then I can get on board with a conspiracy. But I draw the line when someone's like, you have to connect all these weird dots to get there.
Or just wouldn't it be crazy? And you're like,
it would
be crazy.
There's no evidence. But so with Pringles, it's kind of like there's nothing in Pringles that, like, that's, the advert isn't even as weird as the KFC one.
Now, are Pringles vegan? Because if they're not...
Yeah, but that could be the type of oil that's used.
Oh, I'm only joking. That's going to flip the lid on this case.
Yeah. Although you have vegetarian...
Crisps generally are vegan.
Wow.
I'm not suggesting.
I'll leave it for our viewers to decide. Do you think that Pringles are made out of humans? And from that advert that I will put up on the screen...
I'm not getting it from that advert. And I'm not getting it from just having a little think about it.
I'm not getting it at all. But...
Are Pringles the pork scratching of the human world? Are we...
Yes, actually. I mean, I didn't really understand what part of human it could be, but I guess that would be the way they could do it. I don't know how people
eat pork scratchings.
No, they're grim.
Imagine being like, there's a nipple on this Pringle. Because that's what people have with pork scratchings. And they'll still eat it. Or there's hair on it.
Oh. Load of Ed Gaines out there loving that. Oh,
Pringle lamp.
Grim. Okay, I'm going to do our twisting sounds to end this episode. Before it goes any longer, we're literally almost at 2 hours. This is longer than some of our other ones,
but
which we didn't say is not going to be a long one. So, the cryptid clue for next episode. Her first name starts with N, her last begins with G. She's the woman in the headlines that everyone hopes to see. A missing person searched for by neighbours far and near. Say her name, the one the whole community longs to hear. I think that's quite an easy one.
Happy guessing.
Yes, happy guessing, and we hope to see you next time. If you have liked this video, please like and subscribe.
Yeah, it genuinely makes our day. Not even our day.
Our whole week.
Our whole week, our whole month, our whole year.
Yeah.
So
especially when I've had a rubbish day at work and I come out of work to see a new subscriber, I just think, oh,
or a comment.
This has changed my whole mood.
Yeah.
Yeah, genuinely.
Genuinely, any attention we thrive on, so please.
Yeah. Please like and subscribe if you do, because it really does make our day. And we shall hopefully see you next time for episode 41, because we're now in the 40s.
Damn.
We're going and thriving.
Yeah. And we hope you are too.
See you later.
Bye.